Hello. Yes, I welcome you all to episode number 5 in our platform, Four Corner Network. So yes, we have a panelist of clinical psychologists here, Devulina Roy, Lipika Malik, and Shrita Nair. We are all licensed clinical psychologists. And before moving to episode 5, I would like to give a brief about the last episode. We have talked about layman's perspective or layman's guide to therapy, and where we had an overview of what is the difference between therapy and counseling, or what are the types of therapy. So if you are more interested on that, you can go into the last episode and have a understanding what is a therapy, and then you can carry forward with this episode where we are going into a deep. Okay, so what therapy looks like. So yes, I welcome you all today for the episode number 5. And one of the major thing that I have seen, and even we all have seen, that there are many factors which limits our client to go for a therapy. So I will ask all of you, what could be those factors according to you, which is limiting our clients or today's generation to come for a therapy? Yes.
So yes, Dimple. So as you said, there are a few factors which we really think is actually limiting and stopping the clients to go forward to the therapy. So I think the very first factor is somehow there is a thought, I can say the image of the time procedure, the time it is going to take to get completely healed or completely uh, what I say, to technically completely healed in a therapeutic process. So the clients tend to think it will take around few months to maybe some therapeutic technique might take few years also. So time limit is something I think that somehow resists the client to go forward to a therapy. Apart from that, another important factor is the financial part as well, because from therapist to therapist it differs. So depending on the which therapist is offering the therapy services at what range is also one of the important factors.
Yes.
And I would say that even though in the urban society stigma is much less now, it's still a reservation in the minds of people that why am I supposed to pay money just to talk? So even though a lot of social media exposure has happened, people have started to, become comfortable with mental health, talking about mental health. There is still a general misconception about therapy as being a process where you're only venting out. While venting is a very large and very important, crucial part of therapy, therapy consists of not only venting. So I think that's also a mental block for people. Ki, why am I supposed to pay money to just come and vent to a stranger?
Yes, yes, very rightly stated, Shrita. Yes, Lipika.
I agree with what Shrita has said that stigma has, I think, probably reduced in the urban culture, in the urban society, but it's very much present in the rural part. So a lot of people from rural places do find it difficult to approach mental health professionals, and a lot of times they don't understand that the symptoms are of a mental health disorder. They feel that maybe there is something wrong physically, or maybe there is some other thing that is wrong. There is some possession or something like that. So because there's not much awareness at the rural part, in the rural sector, so that's another reason why a lot of people from rural population are not able to reach out for help. I think another reason can be that a lot of people may find it difficult to afford therapy, or they might feel that therapy is very expensive. They might have a preconceived notion that therapy is expensive, and maybe they don't want to spend so much of money on that. But again, that's not entirely true. Like, there are a lot of platforms which offer therapy for free. Of course, there are therapists that do charge a bit higher amount also, but it's not like there's that therapy will always be expensive. You can find both things. Like, you can find therapy at affordable rates. You can find therapy at pro bono also, and you can find therapy at expensive rates also. So all of those things are available.
Yes, yes, yes. You all have pointed out one few of the major factors like stigma, or therapy could be a long process and due to which people are not approaching therapy. And Lipika has even pointed out that affordability also matters, that is it expensive for them due to which they are not going. So it makes our viewer more understanding that how to make it more affordable or more accessible. If many people are not reaching out due to money factor or due to economic factor, how can our society or our government can make it more accessible when we talk about mental health or therapy?
Okay, so I think there is a concept known as managed care in the Western countries and in the European and the American countries. So technically, it means the insurance process. So just like if you see, eventually, so even after before 5, 10 years, 15 years, our country was not very well aware with the health insurance and everything. So people used to think, why should I pay around 10,000, 15,000 rupees per year? And if I don't fall sick, then whole my money is going to get wasted. But if something happens, the hospital charges can go up to like lakhs. That time, if a person is not having a health insurance covered, so that can become very much problematic for them. So similarly, eventually now the insurance companies have started covering the mental health factor also. And eventually there are many MNCs which cover the mental health, like mental health and well-being factor, and they provide free therapies to their employees also sometimes. So in these cases, I think insurance is one of the factors. And managed care, normally the insurance is covered by number of sessions, majorly. Suppose I am paying my insurance for around, my insurance is going to cover 10 sessions on therapy, or maybe the 20, 30, 40, depending on the amount the person can actually spend. So similarly, if something can be normalized in India, taking mental health insurance, so that can assure a person, so whenever they are in need, they can go. And so when so you are paying one time to that particular company, and eventually the company is going to pay your therapist. So you don't have to pay your therapist separately. So in a small amount of money, you can have a larger or a greater access to mental health and resources. So I think this is one of the thing insurance coverage is major factor. Eventually, India should look forward upon.
Yes.
On a personal level, a lot of therapists offer pro bono cases, like Lipika was saying a few minutes ago. Aside from pro bono cases, therapists are also open to offering their charges on a sliding scale, in the sense that they have a set range with a starting and an ending limit, and the client can choose an amount, and it could even vary based on their income or their uh, convenience on a month-to-month basis. A lot of therapists are open to that sliding scale option as well. Aside from that, subsidized slots are also there for a particular group. For instance, a lot of therapists give subsidized spots to students. A lot of therapists give subsidized spots to single women or single mothers, for instance. It's really important to speak to therapists and speak to a lot of therapists to be able to figure out what their uh, perspectives are.
Yes.
I would like to add another point is that like Devlina was saying that insurance should also start covering. If your insurance is covering therapy or mental health services, then it becomes very easy because then the person doesn't have to worry about how much the charges are going to be because it's covered by insurance. So that way, the person will be more open to going for therapy and attending their sessions also regularly. Another thing is that a lot of big companies and MNCs, they tie up with certain mental health organizations and they sort of cover the charges in under the employee section. So like we have PFs for employees and we have other benefits for employees, like there are travel leaves are also there for employees and other benefits are there for employees. So similarly, they have this benefit also where they can approach that particular mental health organization and they won't have to pay for therapy because their organization is already paying for therapy. So over here, the organization pays to the mental health organization so that the mental health organization covers the cost of its employees. So there the employees don't have to pay directly. So that becomes more accessible to them. And they will have like a set of sessions and like good amount of sessions where they can attend regularly and they can choose from therapists also. So that also becomes more accessible to such individuals. But having said that, that's a concept which is there in very few organizations only. A lot of organizations don't have this concept. So I think if this kind of setup also develops in companies, that will make mental health more accessible to employees. and they will not have that difficulty of how do I approach, which therapist should I look for, where to look for therapist, or how much will their fees be, what do I do. They don't have to do anything. They just reach out to the mental health organization. They can check their therapist, they can select the therapist, and they can directly go for therapy. They don't have to pay, or they don't have to do anything. So that's a good setup that can take place.
Yes. So one more point which I
Yeah.
would like to add, like which I have seen in many educational institute these days, that if let's say the educational institute is very big and they have only one psychologist, one counselor, now they are tying up with many of the organization, many famous organization where they would be provided counseling, they would be provided therapy in a hybrid mode. So that is also another thing. After COVID specifically, this form of therapy sessions and mental health was focused a lot, and which made it more accessible to students, because young adolescents, teenagers, and especially someone in the transition stage from adolescent to young adulthood is the major stage where many people have many doubts, and their therapy will help them, or their counseling, basic counseling can also help them. So this form of tie-up of organizations or educational institute with the psychological, any form of setup, online or offline, will help even students or even employees which are available. But with that said, the responsibility will also be pushed upon HR or the administrative unit of the companies to promote it. Okay, so yes, we are providing all these services. Many of the employees are not even aware of it. So when we provide that awareness, okay, we have this all services, they would be like much likely to opt for those services. Yes, so this were few of the points. And another section which we would like to cover in today's episode, like what are the recent trends in therapy according to you? Like what are the recent changes, recent nuances which are coming specifically when we talk about therapy counseling today? Any of you would like to share their experience or their understanding on the recent trends? Yes.
Okay, so what I have noticed actually, so even if you see there are few broad domains of psychotherapy, as we all like CBT is there, DBT is there, ACT is there, and etc. etc. But nowadays, what I have noticed, there are multiple small mushroom-like subheadings are also coming up. Like the main therapy, but the names are different. So some like XYZ form of therapy, some ABCD form of now. Looks quite tempting and everything. Okay, there's something new, but technically they are doing the same thing. They're focusing on a particular area. So I think eventually this might be a confusion amongst the client also. Like if a client who is interested to know what form of therapy is being taken place and why, so this has to be very clear what I feel. So this new trend of dividing a major therapy into small chunks is very popular in nowadays culture. And I think it's a global thing. It's not only Indian specific, it's a global thing.
Yes, yes.
That's true. I think it started off with the right intention, but then it eventually became a
Mhm.
marketing gimmick in the sense
Yes,
that,
exactly.
now I'm going to put a certain title ahead of my name, and then it is going to give an impression that I have a super specialty in that particular
Mm.
area. But essentially, it's a small part of a very big, larger therapy. So if you claim to only know a very small part of it, you're actually doing a disservice to yourself. So it's really important. I think it's a professional responsibility to be able to know the bigger perspective before you think about subspecializing in the smaller areas.
Yes.
Yeah, I think another thing that has come up is telehealth, as in telecounseling and teletherapy. It's a lot of online practice, and those kind of things have also come up after COVID. Because I think before COVID, it was not that much existing, but after COVID, this has happened. A lot of things have shifted online, and this has its merits and demerits also. I think the most important merit is that it becomes more accessible, especially in bigger cities. When you're staying in one part of the city and your therapist is in another part of the city, there is so much of time that you have to give away for traveling, and there's traffic, and there's a lot of the money factors also involved in this. So that has become more accessible. With online, you can connect to any therapist in the world, and anybody, even if your therapist changes the place and shifts somewhere else, you can still connect with that therapist. Or if you shift somewhere else, you can connect with the therapist. So that's a very big pro that is there of online therapy, that you are accessible to a lot of people, and a lot of people can also easily come and take therapy from the mental health professionals. But I personally feel that there are a few challenges also, especially I think when it comes to rapport formation. Offline setting, I think, is easier to form rapport because you're able to see the person directly and you're able to form rapport, I feel, in a better way. But this is, again, this depends from client to client that you're saying, and also the difficulties that the client is dealing with. There are certain disorders where it might become challenging, but certain disorders where it might be okay. Again, depending on the distress level and also the preference of the client. A lot of clients themselves have preference that we want only an offline therapist or an online therapist. So again, those things are there. But yes, this is another thing that has, come up a lot, and a lot of organizations are there which are primarily working online and providing therapy online only. So that's another trend that has come up.
Yes, yes, Deepika. So one point that you stated, that now therapy has become hybrid, or now the online, offline, both settings are available for the client. So one another major concern that clients are seeing, because everything is now available online, all the informations are there. This is the organization, how many therapists are working under them, and even the charges are also sometimes displayed there, or organization also states that these are the charges for this therapist, or if you want to talk to them, this is the charges, another therapist shows this charges. So what do you all understand, that is charges is equal to expertise, or what, how can we make our audience more understandable, that uh, to rate the expertise and to choose the best therapist for them, or to choose the best counselor? Yes.
I think the charges of the therapist has nothing to do with their expertise. And that's just my personal opinion and also a professional opinion. At that, I've observed that a lot of really, really skilled therapists charge very subsidized rates for their clients because of their own personal ethic. They think that they want to keep mental health very accessible. Perhaps that's not their only source of income. That could also be one of the reasons why they can charge therapy in a subsidized manner. But simultaneously, there are also a lot of therapists that do not really have a lot of skill but do charge an amount that is something that one can't even think of approaching. But um, the attitude that they have is that, okay, so if you can't afford this, then you're just not my audience. And I feel like that's a very rigid attitude to have, especially for a mental health practitioner, because if you pick and choose your audience or your clientele based on how much they can afford, then I think that you're in the wrong profession.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I do agree with Shrita. So having a sliding scale is really important for a mental health practitioner because when we are like providing the services, it is for the masses. But if a person chooses to have to target a very specific clientele, that is a different thing altogether. But from the ethical side, so just like doctors, the services are for everyone.
Yes, I agree with what Shrita has said, that if your charges are high, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good mental health practitioner. Or if your charges are low, again, that doesn't mean that you're not a good mental health practitioner. Of course, with the experience and years of experience, mental health professionals do tend to increase their charges. And I think that's something which happens with the medical community also. And up to a certain point, that's justified. But if like Shrita has mentioned, if the charges become too expensive, and it's just like something that you can't imagine, I think that then it becomes a little bit absurd. So, and then again, like I think the audience and the general population will have to look at a lot of other factors apart from the charges. So just looking at the charges will not mean that okay, how good they are. So there would be other things that you might have to look at, and I feel ultimately you will have to like speak to the therapist ultimately. Because you can, once you speak to the therapist, it's only then you can understand that if there is an alignment between what you want and what the therapist is, which the therapist can give you, and how the therapist is generally, what is the approach of the therapist, that you can only understand once you speak to the therapist. So again, it might come to trial and error kind of situation, but I think that happens with the other professions also. So
Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
think it's a bit like that.
Yes. So when we come to therapy and plus assessment, so similar to like doctors, they also do charge something high when they do some test, MRI scan or CT scan or anything when they are doing that, charges are very different compared to what are the therapy charges. So in the similar way, when we also, when as a client, you are also going for a therapy, you need to look for that, are this therapy charges, are this assessment charges, will it be included in that? So all this thing, as Lipika ma'am and everybody has mentioned, you need to check with the therapist what are they providing, and then according to your decision, are you aligned with that particular therapy and everything? You can take that decision. And lastly, I would like to even take a outlook from all of you that many have approached us and talked that is therapy necessary or therapy is overhyped. Okay, previously we didn't need therapy, why today you need a therapy? So I just want a small understanding from all of you, is it overhyped? Is therapy overhyped?
Honestly, therapy is not overhyped because everybody needs that. Everybody needs help. What is therapy? Therapy is a source of support for you. So the final goal of therapy is that you shouldn't need therapy. And if your practitioner works from that perspective, then things are going to be very easy. You're going to be very focused in work. But if your practitioner works to maintain that dependency on you so that you keep coming back, so that you keep giving them money, then that's again an unethical practice. So to answer your question, Dimple, I don't think there is any one answer that whether therapy is overhyped or not. It really depends on people's experience. But from a practitioner's lens, what I can say is that if you need help, you need help. That's it. Admission of needing help is the first step to healing.
Yes, yes.
So just like you won't show any reluctance in seeking help for perhaps an abdominal pain or a chest pain, you shouldn't even show reluctance to seek help for a mental health
Hmm.
perspective or a mental health sort of a support.
Yes.
I totally agree with Shrita. So, and the best thing is to understand something is overhyped or not. So you have to try it first.
Hmm.
Just don't go with what others are saying because, as Shrita also mentioned, experience matter. And even if you're not having a very sober experience for the first time, just have an open eye because there are like different clients, they suit with different therapists. Sometimes one client is getting aligning with one therapist so nicely that it is actually healing most of their problems. It might not be the same with some other therapist. So try first and do a trial error method. Give your own proper time, then come to a conclusion or a judgment. Because had
Yes.
therapy been overhyped, so I'm very sure then it would have been running for such a long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the reason why few people say that is because I think I heard this in a show. There was a TV series that I was watching, and I heard this dialogue that, therapy is a Western concept. So that is a dialogue that I had heard. And why people think that is because I think like a few years back, let's say 50 years or 60 years back, there wasn't that much of therapy that was there. And also the same with the medical practitioners also, not that much availability of medical practitioners. And same, of course, there was not that much of awareness about mental health and therapy and those kind of things. So some people might say that, in those times also people were doing fine and they were dealing with things like how people are dealing with things now, and they were okay without therapy. So why do people need therapy today? I think the main reason is because firstly there's a lot of exposure that is there today that was not there 50 or 60 years back, because of social media, because of availability of internet. You get everything in your phone and just with one click. So you can see news from all over the world. You can even get to know what is happening in the smallest of the smallest cities. So that is making people subconsciously also more overwhelmed, because there's so much of information that is there. Even when they don't search for information, that information comes to them on its own. So that is sort of making people more overwhelmed. And once you become overwhelmed, then obviously your coping mechanisms and those kind of things, they start to become a little bit weaker. And then you might be prone to having certain difficulties, certain emotional problems. So I think that is one of the biggest reason why that is happening. And that is something why that, yes, that is why we need therapy now. We might be needing it previously also, but unfortunately, it was not that much available at that time. But today we have those tools available with us. Today we have the professionals available with us. And like Shrita said, everybody needs help. Now, how you seek help is up to you. Few people might go to a friend to seek help. Few people might go to their parents, or few people might go to spiritual gurus also to seek help, whatever it is. But the bottom line is everybody needs help and everybody wants to seek help. So we are also there to help, and whatever works for you. Like Debelina said, that you have to first try it, and then you can say that, okay, if it works for me or not. So yeah, I think that is what it is.
Yes, yes. Even as Debulina told, that you have to try it first. You have to give a try, specifically when you say, is it working for me or not? Like you give a try for medicines also. But it's not like one time I have given a try, oh, it's not working, therapist was not good, and I am giving it up. You can try again, and until and unless you find the right medium of help, it is like find the right medium of help, and then you can see that yes, there could be a miracle which can take place. So this was all about therapy that we have brought on FCN. And if you have any question, you can put it on our chat box, and we are happy to hear from all of you. Yes, and in our next episode, what do you all think we can discuss about? Yes, maybe something related to health, that why do people need help?
That
Yes.
is a good
What
idea.
could be the
That is a good
core
idea.
of people asking for help, and when generally there would be a break point? Yes. So yes, we can
We can,
elaborate about it in our next session. Yes. Thank you all. Thank
sure.
you to all the
Thank
panelists.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.
you.
Thank you.